Breaking news from around your world on this Monday, May 6th, 2019. I'm Larry Rice. More than 1 million species of plants and animals are in danger of extinction, according to a United Nations report released Monday. The study by the Intergovernmental Science Policy Platform on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services concluded that the threat is due to humans, with species loss now occurring tens to hundreds of times faster than it has in the past. Humanity unwittingly is attempting to throttle the living planet and humanity's own future, said George Mason University biologist Thomas Lovejoy, a biodiversity expert who was not part of the research team. A key reason for the decline is loss of habitat. The report's 39-page summary highlighted some of the ways it's occurring, including turning forests, grasslands, and other areas into farms, cities, and other developments, leaving plants and animals homeless. The report said about 3/4 of Earth's land, 2/3 of its oceans, and 85% of crucial wetlands have been severely altered or lost, making it harder for species to survive. Report co-author Andrew Purvis of the National History Museum in London said, "The key to remember is it is not a terminal diagnosis." The report found that more than 500,000 species on land have insufficient habitat for long-term survival and could disappear within decades without habitat restoration. A Russian jetliner that burst into flames while making an emergency landing at a Moscow airport, killing 41 of the 78 people on board, was without radio communications because of a lightning strike. That's what the pilot told Russian news media. A flight attendant also described a sharp flash soon after takeoff Sunday evening from a Moscow airport as the plane headed to Murmansk. Some of the 37 survivors were seen on video carrying hand luggage as they plunged down an inflatable slide from the plane's forward section, raising questions about whether grabbing their baggage might have impeded an evacuation in which every second could separate life from death. The plane, a twin-engine Sukhoi 100 operated by the Russian flagship carrier Aeroflot, had taken off from the airport but turned back within minutes, requesting an emergency landing at Moscow. The plane came down hard on the runway, and flames and black smoke burst from its underside. Russia's main investigative body said both of the plane's flight recorders, data and voice, have been recovered from the charred wreckage. Investigators were looking into 3 main possibilities behind the cause of the disaster: inexperienced pilots, equipment failure, and bad weather. Storms were passing through the Moscow area at the time of the disaster. The death toll rose Sunday after clashes between Israel and Palestinians in Gaza intensified into the bloodiest fighting there since 2014. At least 4 Israelis were killed in southern Israel after Gaza militants fired hundreds of rockets into the area. Israel responded by hammering Gaza with airstrikes. At least 23 Palestinians were killed. Israel's military said Palestinian militants fired more than 600 rockets and other projectiles into southern Israel since Friday. More than 150 of the rockets were intercepted by Israel's Iron Dome anti-missile system. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said he ordered massive strikes targeting Gaza's ruling Hamas group and Islamic Jihad. Hamas leaders said late Sunday the two sides had agreed to a ceasefire. The United States is sending an aircraft carrier and a bomber task force to the Middle East to send a clear and unmistakable message to Iran not to attack U.S. interests in the region. National Security Advisor John Bolton said in a statement Sunday, "The United States is not seeking war with the Iranian regime, but we are fully prepared to respond to any attack, whether by proxy, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, or regular Iranian forces." Bolton said the move came after a number of troubling and escalatory indications and warnings. He did not specify what the warnings were. A Defense Department official said Iranian forces and proxies were making preparations to possibly attack U.S. forces in the region. China on Monday dismissed a suggestion that it would talk with the United States and Russia about a new accord limiting nuclear arms, saying it would not take part in any trilateral nuclear disarmament negotiations. President Donald Trump said he and Russian President Vladimir Putin discussed on Friday the possibility of the new accord that could eventually include China in what would be a major deal between the globe's top three atomic powers. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Gang Shuang said the country's nuclear forces were at the lowest level of its national security needs and that they could not be compared to the United States and Russia. Gang added that China has always advocated the complete prohibition and thorough destruction of nuclear weapons. He said China believes that countries with the largest nuclear arsenals have a special responsibility when it comes to nuclear disarmament and should continue to further reduce nuclear weapons in a verifiable and irreversible manner, creating conditions for other countries to participate. The 2011 New START Treaty, the only U.S.-Russia arms control pact limiting deployed strategic nuclear weapons, expires in February 2021, but can be extended for 5 years if both sides agree. President Trump tweeted Sunday that he would raise tariffs on $200 billion worth of Chinese goods this week, marking a reversal of his previous vow to hold off on any new levies during negotiations to end the U.S.-China trade war. Trump also said he would target another $325 billion in Chinese imports shortly. The warning came ahead of the latest round of talks between U.S. and Chinese officials, which is scheduled to take place in Washington this week. China said its envoys were still preparing to attend. In February, Trump said he was holding off on raising tariffs, citing trade talk progress. The Dow Jones Industrial Average futures plunged by almost 2% as investors who had been expecting a deal braced for renewed tensions. The Sultan of Brunei said in a televised address Sunday that his country would put a moratorium on the death penalty. The Sultan said the policy would apply to cases under a new penal code influenced by Islamic law. The change was interpreted as a retreat from controversial harsh punishments, including death by stoning for gay sex and adultery, that were imposed last month and provoked global condemnation. I am aware that there are all sorts of questions and misconceptions on the implementation of the new laws, the Sultan said. We are conscious of the fact that these misconceptions may cause apprehension. Western governments had warned that enforcing the new laws would complicate trade deals with oil-rich Brunei. Archaeologists working near the pyramids of Giza have discovered an ancient Egyptian burial ground dating back to around 2500 BC and hosting the tombs of high-ranking officials. The remarkable discovery includes a limestone family tomb from Egypt's 5th dynasty, a period spanning the 25th to the 24th century BC, according to the country's Minister of Antiquities while unveiling the site. The tomb contained the mummies of two people, Ben-Nui-Ka, who held 7 titles during the period, including priest and judge, and Nui, also known as the chief of the great state and the purifier of the pharaoh Khafre. Khafre, who built the second of the 3 famous pyramids of Giza, is believed to have reigned for around 25 years. The ministry is hopeful the new discoveries will help boost tourism to Giza, which was hit by the turmoil that followed the 2011 Arab Spring and has been slow to recover. Giza's long-awaited Grand Egyptian Museum has been built with this aim. Expected to open in mid-2020, the $1 billion museum will rehouse and restore some of the country's most precious relics. SpaceX's Dragon supply spacecraft docked with the International Space Station on schedule Monday morning. Canadian astronaut David St. Jacques used the station's robotic arm to capture the craft and line it up with the docking hatch. NASA also showed in the video that the Dragon was one of 6 spacecraft parked at the station now. The others include Northrop Grumman's Cygnus cargo craft that launched in April from Virginia, 2 Russian Soyuz capsules, and 2 Russian Progress cargo capsules. The crew aboard the station was to open the hatch Monday afternoon to begin unpacking the Dragon's 5,500 pounds of cargo. Most of that, about 3,400 pounds, is pressurized and includes sensitive scientific equipment. Dragon will be bolted to the spacecraft for about a month for unloading and repacking, with around 2,000 pounds for the return trip, according to a NASA spokesperson. The spacecraft launched on top of a Falcon 9 rocket early Saturday from Florida. It was the 17th resupply mission for SpaceX under its contract with NASA. A beaming Prince Harry announced to the world that his wife, Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, gave birth to a healthy baby boy early Monday, declaring he's incredibly proud of his wife. Their son weighed 7 pounds 3 ounces at birth and was born at 5:26 a.m. Harry said their son was a little bit overdue, and that had given the royal couple more time to contemplate names. Harry promised that more details, such as the baby's name, will be shared in the coming days. The baby boy will be 7th in line to the throne, making it very unlikely that he will grow up to be the British monarch. The current heir is Prince Charles, Queen Elizabeth II's 70-year-old son. He is followed by his son William and William's 3 young children, Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis. Next comes the new baby's father, Prince Harry, and then the newborn boy. The child will be eligible for dual British-U.S. citizenship if Meghan, who is a U.S. citizen, and Harry want to go through with the application process. And that's your update for this Monday, May 6th, 2019. I'm Larry Rice. Thanks so much for listening, and I hope you have a wonderful week.